Thank you very much, and I want to agree with all the previous speakers that have spoken. And I'm very glad to be inside Birmingham at this conference, because I absolutely do believe there's a link between austerity and racism and the way that it works in terms of divide and rule in our society. But I'm also glad to be inside Birmingham because 16 times I knew my way to Victoria Square with my eyes shut, because 16 times the EDL and the BNP came to that square, and 16 times we defeated them. And we kicked them out. I say that because the idea was that it was automatic that they would be the people that would be accepted. The racism and division would be the one that won. They were fascist, they were far right, and they had to be defeated. We kicked Nick Griffin out. And the reason why we have to start from that is because it tells us that there is a basis of what we're talking about in this conference about austerity and racism and resisting it. Because the job of us today is to resist what's taking place. I believe that there is racism. I've been to I supported a vigil that took place when a Czech man was killed, unfortunately, in East London, in Harlow and Leeds. We've had to call demonstrations against attacks on Polish people. We called the demonstration in Milton Keynes. In Edinburgh, a mosque was attacked. You can see the increase in racism everywhere. But the real question is, how do we win the argument about who's to blame? Because the link between austerity and racism is how you produce scapegoats. And at the moment, they're producing lots of scapegoats. And we shouldn't forget Theresa May's speech last year at the Conservative Party conference. It was the most racist by any Home Secretary ever met for a very, very long time. It was the reason why I think we should be proud to demonstrate tomorrow about what's happening. When we talk about what we face today, we have to look at, I want to talk specifically about the hypocrisy we face, particularly about refugees. I think it was brilliant. The first thing that Jeremy Corbyn did when he was elected the first time, even though he had to do a rerun too, was that he went to the refugees demonstration and took a principled stand on recognising that, saying that refugees are welcome here. The second thing I'm glad that he did is when he raised the question of immigration, and when he said, it's about time that people said who was to blame. Because it is true that people are going without jobs. It is true that people are going without housing. It is true that our schools and our hospitals are in crisis. But the question is, do you blame your neighbour, or do you blame the people that deserve it, the people in the House of Commons, or the people that put themselves in palaces and turn around and say we should divide and blame us? The idea you've got Donald Trump talking about building a wall, I want to put him in a wall. That's the truth. He belongs behind the wall. The fact that they're now spending £12 million trying to keep refugees from getting on top of, they're saying Britain's got money, we've got no money, we're going to build a wall inside Calais. We've got millions of pounds to spend on that. They have got money, they just haven't got money to spend on us unless we fight and defend it. If you look at the 113 million people that are displaced by the UN at the moment, a tiny proportion of us reach this country or reach anywhere in Europe. The majority of them are kept out. Have you seen the two operations that they've launched? They're called Operation Sophia, right? This is where NATO has launched an operation to keep refugees out of Europe. In fact, people are drowning in the highest number that they've drowned in the last 2 years. They've given £50 billion to other countries in order to help them. Libya being one of the main countries, in terms of they're giving money to them to make sure that they arrest and incarcerate refugees. So these people that say they've got some kind of answer are complete hypocrites. And I tell you, the last time, we've got an announcement that they're going to bulldoze the Calais camp. Last time that happened, we lost 120 children they can't account for. They've been taken from that camp, they've been trafficked. So when people start telling us about, Theresa May starts talking about us about rights and where people stand, look at how the way that you treat the most defenceless people in the world at the moment. The largest number of people, 51% of people are refugee children at the moment. And we have to say that when they talk about closing that camp, they're talking about closing that camp in 3 weeks' time. We're going to call a demonstration out the French embassy, and we're going to march from the French embassy to Theresa May's house and say, you're to blame for this. You should let every refugee from the jungle camp into this country because they've got every right to be here, whether they're migrants or anything else. They're welcome here, and we have to put that message out so they're welcome in that time that's taking place. At the moment, we're told that the people that Cameron promised that he would take in a small amount, he would take in 2,000 refugees. He hasn't done that. And I believe that the whole atmosphere that's been built up is feeding into racism on three fronts. Islamophobia, the question over Black Lives Matters. I think that we went to a demonstration in Telford where a black footballer who played for Aston Villa was hit with a taser. Because I think that was killed by the police with a taser. Because every time racism increases, it causes greater and greater divisions. It enables parts of the state to feel that they can do what they like. I think we can break these people. I think we have the unity to be able to push them back. There's a reason why inside this country you haven't got Front National, you haven't got those people in that position. We have to stand in unity in order to break down we have to stand in unity to make sure that we win those battles. And that's part of the reason why we formed Stand Up to Racism. It's a much more difficult job actually to fight all the attacks that take place on that basis. But I think that one of the things we can say safely is that the reason why the Calais camp exists is because people gave money. I went to the border with John Rees, with people from the People's Assembly, we went up to the border with people with a convoy. That convoy had thousands of pounds donated from it. And I tell you why it was donated. It wasn't donated by the people of the top society, it was donated by mainly working class people. It was donated from different communities, from mosques, from churches, from synagogues. That's the energy that we need to mobilise now on that demonstration tomorrow and against those people that try and break us. They're trying to divide us, and we together can come together in unity in order to overcome them. If we have that strength and we have that unity, we can win the battle. That we face. And that's the reason why I want to thank people for inviting Stand Up to Racism to speak. We're at the beginning of a battle, but I want to say something, my last closing remarks is on this. The most important weapon that they've got is the idea that they can defeat people inside their mind about how they fight. My family come from a place in Jamaica called Clarendon in Maypen. And they kept the slaves there. The slaves that David Cameron, by the way, made money from. The slaves that the British Empire made money from. That's where they got their money initially in some of those places. But the most important thing was there were 3,000 slaves and 6 overseers. And they told the slaves they had to cut sugarcane with machetes. And I always think there was a problem. If there's 6,000 of you and you're armed, and there's 6 people who are working you to death, the real question isn't they've got more than you. The real question is why you don't use your means to just push back these people. And we have to use our means now. By the way, I'll be careful what I say. I'm not advocating violence. I'm advocating collective action, strikes, demonstrations, occupations, and the fight back against racism and austerity. There are more of us than them. We are black, we are white, we are gay, we are straight, we are disabled, we are women, we are men. And if we use that force together, we can defeat these people, provided we understand that we need to use our collective energy in order to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Our final speaker in this